How to stop taking on everyone else's work without letting things fall apart. If you're joining me here today, you probably have experienced this stress of feeling responsible for everything. And if this is what you are experiencing, I'm going to be sharing today 3 really important shifts that will enable you to start focusing on what your responsibilities are while ensuring that everyone else on your team is taking theirs. My name's Melissa. I'm an executive coach and a management consultant. And what I do every day is I work with leaders, executives, managers at different levels, from frontline managers up to high level management. And if there's something that I know is that pain of being responsible for getting the work done and having to work through others in order to accomplish that. So I help leaders enhance their communication and their influence so that they're enabling self-responsibility from their employees and their teams. And as a result of that, they get back their peace of mind, their time, their focus, their energy, so that they can get out of the weeds. They can start focusing on the strategic work that's in front of them. And they can go home at 5 with energy left over to engage in their life.
Love that.
Because, at the end of the day and at the end of their life, we won't be worried about the work that we didn't do. Right? We'll be worried about how we lived our life. And so today we're going to dive into that. Joining me is somebody important on my team. Kay, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. I'm Kay. I'm Melissa's and Jeesna's right hand here at In Charge Coaching. And I'm the client solutions specialist, which means I speak to leaders, I connect with them every single day, and I equip them with resources, with tools that Melissa very carefully curates to help them then lead with clarity and confidence. I also help bring these live workshops, masterclass, this current live that we are at to life. But usually on lives, I'm in a different role, and which is to give you employee perspective, the behind the scenes, and a take on what it actually feels like to be on the receiving end of leadership or delegation or decision rights. And that's everything we're about to unpack.
Yeah. So I want to have some fun today. As you'll notice, my voice is a little bit crackly. I'm just getting over a cold, and my throat is still a little irritated. So I'll be drinking some water, as I typically do during lives. I always need like a bunch of water. It's a habit that I'm in, and especially today with my voice. So I'm gonna offer that up right on the front end of this.
Join you in that.
So let's talk about the problem here, taking on everyone else's work. And everyone that's naturally a high performer is experiencing this. And every single one of my clients is experiencing this or has experienced this, and we've worked through how to bring that into balance to make sure that they're not feeling that pressure anymore. And when you are in a position of high performance, if you are naturally a high performer, we have a really interesting way of rewarding high performance with more work.
Yeah.
And more responsibility.
I agree with that. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. There's a saying like, don't do something too nicely or too perfectly, because then it'll be given to you, is what there's like an inside joke. But yeah.
Yeah. And so there's something really interesting about how we work our ways into positions of power where we are high performing, we are taking on more work, more responsibilities. We're usually really good problem solvers.
Mm-hmm.
And then we acquire that promotion and we become that go-to person, that everything to everyone. And it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. So how can we honor ourselves and be the best that we can be in our position of leadership without sacrificing ourselves, our energy, and bring things into balance? And oftentimes, and I'm just going to add that in, we'll think about, oh, well, we just need, work-life balance. We just need to bring in a boundary around, like, leaving work at 5 and making sure, like, we take our breaks. That's not enough. That's not enough. That can create pockets of time for you, but it doesn't mean that you're actually going to have energy during those pockets of time
Yeah.
to be in balance in your role.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the thoughts that are coming up for you, Kay, as we start diving into this topic?
I feel like this topic is quite close to me because I am that person who I do identify myself as a high performer. I do love taking on tasks because I feel like every task teaches me something, but then there's a saturation you reach, right? Like not every task can teach you something. It's just like adding on to your already big list of tasks that you already have. So yeah, this is very important because you do need to honor yourself, your work, and like know how to self prioritize, how to prioritize your work as well, your tasks. Not everything is yours to take. Everything can be delegated to each person's capabilities and their best interest and their skills. So it's a tricky one because I do agree when you say that people do reward high performers with more tasks, but it's not the case here. Like in our workspace and our culture, this is not something that we follow, but I have felt this sort of like burden. That's why there was an inside joke in my previous team where everybody used to be like, oh, don't do this too well, otherwise this will be given to you once again. So yeah, but I that goes against my ethics. So
Yeah.
there's that loop that you fall into. So
Yeah. And I'm going to pick up on something that you just said there, which is what should be delegated to whom? Who is the best person to do this? And that brings me to the first shift that I want to share with you, which is know who you want to be to the employee or in relationship to the employee. Know your role and know the bounds of your role.
mm-hmm.
So, what is yours and what is not yours is bound up into this point. And who are you going to be in those moments when people lean on you, when they come to you with a problem? In that very moment that somebody knocks on your door and they walk in, who are you and what
Mm,
do you own?
yeah.
Super important. The default is, well, they're coming to me with a problem. I'm a good problem solver. They're asking me to solve a problem. Therefore, I am the problem solver here.
Yeah.
And that would be the doing for them. This is the rescuing that we do. And it really sends a strong message that don't worry, bring me the problem, I will do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a lot of relief that employees feel when you do that because they can just push the ball of responsibility onto you and say, here you go. And so they don't have to take any risk or make decisions that are uncomfortable or do something that's outside of their comfort zone, do something new, deal with a problem that they haven't solved yet. They will push the ball of responsibility onto you. So that's exactly who you do not want to be. You want to
Yeah.
take the problem solver hat off, the
Yeah.
rescuing hat off, and you want to put a different hat. So I'm going to offer you that the hat that you might put on is a hat of directing.
Mm-hmm.
Directing is pointing people in the right path
Yeah.
and really being clear on the outcome that we're looking for, not the how we're going to get there, but the outcome that we're looking for. So this is the directing. Training, maybe there is some training that is needed. And those first two hats, the training and the directing, is really important as when for employees who are just starting out. They might be a new employee or they are expanding themselves into new territories. So this is new to them. So you might do more directing and training in those moments. Another hat that you might consider is a mentoring hat.
Mm-hmm.
So mentoring hat is really great when employees are feeling stuck. So they're not necessarily completely new and this is not completely unknown, but they're feeling stuck in something. And so in mentoring, what we're doing is we're sharing knowledge and we're sharing experiences, we're storytelling. So we're not saying, here's how to fix it. We're saying, hey, I've experienced something like this before, or I've seen something like this before. And here are some of the different ways that I've seen people tackle that. What sticks for you? So this is the person has some foundation, but they're feeling stuck. Now, where you're really going to start building capacity is with your coaching hat. So in your coaching hat, you're not giving them the options. You're not providing for them, but you're asking them questions to help them think for themselves. So in mentoring, we're saying, this is how I would think through it. Whereas in coaching, we're just asking the question to prompt the thinking so they can start thinking that through for themselves. So in every hat that you're putting on here, you're still in a position of support.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not giving them full autonomy and letting them do that by themselves. You're still showing up to support, but your boundary within your role is going to be different, right? If you're rescuing, you're full on doing it for them. If you're training and directing, you're taking up some good space in that problem solving. If you're mentoring, you're taking a step back. And then if you're coaching, you're even taking them a step back and giving them a lot more space. And you can see that difference in how much you're taking on in your role. So that will be different for different employees. Different employees will need something different, and it will be depending on the situation.
Yeah.
How big is this problem? How critical is this problem? And there will be the occasional problem that it is fully yours to take on. And it is within your responsibility as a leader to take that full responsibility and take it on. But that's a lot less than what you are doing right now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That will happen less often than you think.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kay,
Yeah.
how do you see that showing up? So, as I'm describing these things, how do you see
Mhm.
that show up on our team?
Um, I do see it show up in a beautiful way because I know what I fully own. And that's something that I can run with, and I don't hesitate. I don't slack with that. When things are murky, you are like, am I supposed to check in, or should I loop someone in before I hit the publish button? And then you freeze if you don't know that, or worse, you over communicate or over clarify or over correct yourself and every little thing just to be safe. But within our team, I feel very clearly in terms of what I own and what I need to run with without asking. Or if I need something that needs your input, then I do know what's that as well and where to loop you in. So you are always like, this is your lane, or you're like, I'll make the final call, but you can bring me the two options. So that's a relief, because then we're not playing the guessing games, and I
Yeah.
can spend more time on doing the work and not figuring out how I'm supposed to do it. And
Yeah.
that is the main, I think, differentiator.
Exactly. And when you have less stress, when you're not stressing about, ooh, what's my role and what can I do and can I do this and should I, that's all stress that's
Yeah,
actually getting in the way of your peak performance.
definitely.
So
Yeah.
that is my role, is to make sure that you have that clarity and to take away that stress.
Mhm.
When you are stuck on something, so I do very little training and I do very little directing. I will direct mostly in our team meetings where I'm giving a clear picture of end results. That's when I do directing for my team. And then I will do mentoring when you're stuck. So when you are saying, hey, I'm not sure about this, I typically tell you how I think through something like that
Yeah,
rather than telling you what to do.
yeah, yeah,
And then most of the time, I'm just really coaching.
yeah. Like, you don't give me the solution like on my plate. You tell me how you would do it, and that's my journey to find out the solution. And that's such a beautiful way to help somebody grow or coach them or mentor them. And just like by working with you, I'm being mentored and being coached, and that's a journey I'm enjoying.
Awesome. And it should feel enjoyable.
Yeah,
So
it is. It
so when I
is.
get a message from Kay, I would say, okay, well, that's really interesting. What have you done so far? Right. And then here's what I have done in the past, or here's how I would think through it. Let me know what resonates here.
Mm-hmm.
Or what else are you seeing?
Yeah.
So I don't limit it to what I would do, but I might use that as a mentoring option. Or I might not do the mentoring at all and just coach through questions.
Mm-hmm.
So the shift number 2 that's really important is not letting the problem solving hijack the opportunity to empower. What does that mean? Well, there's two things that are happening when your employee is coming to you with a problem or your team is coming to you with a problem. We are dealing with the stress of time. There's never enough time. And I'm going to say we're always dealing with that stress. I've yet to find someone who doesn't have a concern around time,
Yeah, that's true.
right? It's like it's a constant.
It
And
is.
is it this much stress or that much stress? And the more stress we have around time, the more we try to band aid our way through it. We want to cut corners because we don't have enough time. But the fact is we'll never have enough time. That's an experience that we're having in the workplace. So when we feel like we don't have enough time, there's a problem and we're a good problem solver, we want to just solve the problem because it saves time.
Mm-hmm.
It saves time on the forefront. But the fact is you're going to constantly be solving the same problem over and over and over and over and over again. So if you look at it, if you start looking at it long term, you're actually going to put in a lot more time by band-aid solution problem solving.
Definitely.
So it feels in the moment like you're in control and you're dealing with it to shortcut. In the long term, you are sinking yourself. Like you're adding all of this weight that's pulling you down and you're creating a dependency on you. So if you can take that long-term perspective into that moment where you do feel that time pressure and somebody comes in with a problem, think of it this is an opportunity to grow capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Not an opportunity to shortcut because you're a good problem solver. This is an opportunity to add capacity by empowering the other person. So you might slow down for 20 minutes to support that person rather than the 5 minutes to tell them the answer. So it might seem like, ooh, that was an extra 15 minutes in my day, though they will walk away empowered, able to problem solve themselves, and able to do it themselves moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So, how many of those 5 minutes are you actually gaining back?
Yeah.
And I know in those moments it is hard when you are feeling stressed for time, and problem solving is a superpower. You just want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That is how you are falling in the trap of creating dependency and getting stuck in firefighting. Focus on empowering and adding capacity. That will allow you to win and
Yeah.
be the leader that you want to be. All right. Does that make sense?
It does. I do have an employee perspective on this as well. Um, so leaders, like, I've been on the other side of it, the employee side of it, and when leaders take on or rescue and problem solve for the team, um, in my previous like company, I've just felt like, okay, I felt small, so okay, so I can't handle this. That's what you feel when, let's say, because of time crunch, the leaders take on the task, because you just went to ask for an opinion, or you went to ask to how to prioritize, and they say I'll take care of it, and then you end up feeling small and more stressed. And you don't, even though you finish the task, you still feel like you're being left behind. So yeah, that's my employee perspective. That gives the employee a sense like, oh, I don't, or you think like the leader is thinking, I don't trust you to get there.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
It erodes trust. It erodes trust between the leader and the employee. It
Yeah.
also erodes self-trust. So the employee doesn't trust themselves to make that decision or move forward.
Absolutely.
And that brings me to the third point, which is deliberately express what the employee owns. Deliberately express. Okay? And here I'm going to share with you what I hear and what I observe in coaching. Okay?
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
observe a lot of they should know or it's implied. And
Oh.
and so you have leaders or managers who are expecting the employee to take initiative, to take responsibility, to make decisions. But when you speak to the employee, it is not clear to them. And they say, yes, my leader supports me, my leader empowers me. They're really, really supportive. But I don't really know where the line is. I don't really know if I'm supposed to be looking at options or making a decision or when to go back to them for that decision making. That is not clear to them. And that lack of clarity, like you were saying, Kate, earlier, creates a lot of stress. And so
Mm-hmm.
now you have leaders who are feeling like, hey, people are just not stepping up. And you have employees who feel like, I want to step up. I am motivated. I just don't know how to do it in a way that's going to be respectful to the people around me and to and meet the expectations of my managers.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
deliberately talking about ownership. And that's something we do a lot of.
Yeah.
So decisions. Okay, we are the bottleneck when it comes to decisions. Leaders, we keep the decisions to ourselves and we don't even realize we're doing it. So when you are thinking about decisions, like actually take time here to journal or to write down what are the decisions that you're making on a daily basis and what decisions your team comes to you to make. to figure out which ones you don't need to be making. Okay. There are decisions on your list that the employee can be making all by themselves without you. I trust you to fully make that decision, right? Does that language sound familiar, Kay?
Very much.
So I will give things and I will say, I fully trust you to make this decision. And I also trust you that if you are not comfortable, that you will come to me. So I'm not saying, hey, do not come to me. I'm saying I fully trust you in every capacity here. Second, which ones need input? Which decisions are you like, hey, before you pull the trigger on that one, can you just check in with me? And input is different than approval. And that's something to get really, really clear with employees. Which ones do you just want to be in the loop of and put your 2 cents in, but they're still going to have that final say. They're still going to make the decision versus which ones are they actually handing over the decision making to you? They're coming to you. Like, think of decision making and responsibility like a ball, and they're giving you the ball. And so with input, they're keeping the ball. They're just saying, hey, this is my ball. This is what I'm thinking about. This is, do you have anything to add here before I make the decision? Whereas if they're seeking approval, they're giving you the ball. And now you have that ball of responsibility for the decision making. All right. So what can they do by themselves? Which ones do they have to consult you and get your input before they decide? And which ones are they giving to you? They seek your approval. You're going to be the one making the decision. Okay, if you just do that exercise, you're going to feel a lot of weight roll off your shoulders. And you're going to start being able to clearly communicate these boundaries with your employees. And the employees are going to feel empowered to start acting, start taking initiative, start decision making on their own. All right?
Absolutely.
Check-in points. That's the second thing to get really clear and deliberately expressing. When do we expect employees to report back to us, to check in with us? And we can even talk about it in relation to decision making. There are times when I want an employee like Kate to check in with me. And it could be before a decision is made, after a decision is made, or it could be include that in your monthly report or your weekly report or your monthly report. When to check in with you in terms of problems, but also KPIs and what's going right.
Yeah.
So communication, we think often communication top down, and I want you to think about communication bottom up. Are you expressing to your employees when, how, and what to communicate? What are the expectations and the boundaries around that? And Kate knows exactly what to show up with Monday on our Monday meeting. She knows exactly when to Voxer me. She knows exactly what to send me as communication at the end of the week. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Because I'm communicating that very deliberately. That is not by accident. That is very much intentional on my part. And after communicating it, I reinforce it. I give little emotional rewards to reinforce this communication. Communication can make and break teams, let me tell you.
Yeah.
And then lastly, here I would offer to think about the boundaries of your role and your involvement in the work and communicating that. So we talked about it in that first point of know who you want to be. So know for yourself. And here I'm offering to communicate that. This is what I'm going to do for you right now. And this is what you're going to do. Or this is what I'm willing to do, what I'm not willing to do. This is what I can and cannot do. This is who I can and cannot be. So that might sound like I can be here as a sounding board for you right now. And this is your decision to make.
Yeah.
Right? So we're being very, very clear about what we're taking on and where that ball of responsibility that we were talking about is going to remain, in which hands. So there's something, as I say this, as I demonstrate and role play for people, a lot of the feedback is this like recognition that I do not take that ball of responsibility. So even in situations where people are trying to give me their ball of responsibility, I don't take it and I give it back to them. And I give it back to them and I give it back to them. And that is a coaching skill that I have learned and that I teach my clients. Do not take that ball of responsibility unless it is yours. Unless it is yours. And it is less yours than what you think.
Yeah.
All right. So 3 really important shifts. I'm just going to review them quickly. Know who you want to be your role with this employee or with your team. Don't let problem solving hijack and the stress of time get in the way of the opportunity to empower and build capacity. Look at the long term. Look at the long term. You will always win when you empower and you build capacity on your team. And the moment is right now. It is not later. There is not a full day of training that you're going to be able to offer. It's in the little moments that you're going to build that capacity. And deliberately express what you're going to own and what the employee is going to own. Talk about the decision rights, talk about the flow of communication, and talk about where the boundaries are, where the edges are of our role, and where the overlap is. All right. This is what I do on my team. And that's why everyone can own what they need to own. And if this is something that you want to be doing, if you're hearing this and you're saying, hey, this actually resonates with me, and I think I need to know what those boundaries are, and I want to communicate them with confidence, and I want to create more balance within my role, within my team. A lot of the leaders that I work with, they've figured out this work-life balance. And yet between 9 to 5, it is still chaos. And that's what I want to help you do, is bring more balance between the 9 to 5, because when you're in balance, you create balance for others. So join us on April 22nd, 2 hours. That is the investment that you're going to make in yourself to learn about your boundaries. I'm going to walk you through an exercise so you can start exploring specifically what boundaries are going to work for you or not. Because when it comes to boundaries, it is unique. It's unique to you, who you are as a person, how your role has evolved over time, the situation, the employees around you, the dynamics of your team, the culture that you're within. Those are all things that are going to come into play when you think about your boundaries. Okay. Secondly, knowing is the first step, feeling in alignment, and then we need to start communicating. But communicating is two-way. There's internal communication, how we talk about these boundaries with ourselves, the committee up here, And that will reflect on how confident and assertive we can be in communicating it with our team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So we're going to talk about confident, assertive communication. And third, we're going to talk about respect and maintaining those boundaries over time. These things don't just happen. They happen when you're intentional and you know exactly how you're going to maintain and create that respect for your boundaries with the people around you. So if you want to join us, all you need to do is go to inchargecoaching.ca/masterclass. I think Kate might drop that link right in the chat to make it easy. Kate, what do people need to know about the masterclass?
Well, it's 2 hours. It's happening on April 22nd at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And also, there's a link that I'm dropping in the comment section that you can go to and register yourself by just putting in your name and email address. And yeah, I think I've just experienced what it feels like to be in a team where boundaries don't limit you, they liberate you. So I think it's the kind of clarity every team needs.
Where boundaries liberate you
Yeah,
and they empower other people.
absolutely.
Okay? Boundaries are not just about saying no. They're about how we are setting up our working relationships with ourselves and with others. So I will see you next week,
Yes.
ready to dive in, and I'm excited to walk alongside you on this journey. We also have a workbook, so if you show up live
Yes.
on Tuesday, you'll get access to the workbook, and that's going to be your blueprint so you can walk away and you can rinse and repeat that for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Have a good one. Happy Monday.